Welcome to Radio Psychotropia, cinema for the criminal in you.
Hello and welcome to Radio Psychotropia. I'm your host, Robert Black, and my guest host is Conrad Bianco.
How's it going, eh?
This podcast is dedicated to the strange and bizarre cinema we grew up with that encompasses all eras and genres. Although we'll hold a pretty consistent spotlight on horror, this show is not exclusively dedicated to that genre. However, expect a lot of smut as well. We don't censor our selections here.
Full frontal.
Look, let's do something different tonight.
Like what?
Hey, I got it. Let's go to that rock concert in Bakersville. They got some really good groups there.
A rock concert? Christ, we've been to every one for the past month. No, there must be something different.
What do you want to do, Lisa?
I don't care.
I've got it. Today's Friday the 13th, right?
Yeah.
Let's spend a night in a graveyard.
Graveyard?
Why not? Who knows who we'll meet there? Maybe Count Dracula.
I've got some grass. We could really blow our minds there.
A graveyard? No way, baby.
Oh, come on. Let's be fair about this. You girls want to go to a rock show. We want to go to the graveyard. So we'll draw straws. Short one is the graveyard. Long one, the rock concert.
No. Alan, I don't want to go.
I'll even let you draw. That way you can't complain it was rigged.
Might as well. Son of a bitch.
Yahoo!
One problem. Where's the nearest graveyard?
Up near Bakersville, about 30 miles back in the bush. There's an old mining town there, but all the ore ran out. Everybody left. It hasn't been used in years.
Well, we better go if we want to get there before dark.
Alan, you're not serious, are you?
Well, sure I am. Come on, let's go.
Welcome to our third episode. Today, we're covering Zombies from Sudbury. 1974's Corpse Eaters, produced by Lawrence Zazelenchuk. Produced in 1973, Zazelenchuk, who owned the 69 Drive-In outside of Sudbury, Ontario, Canada, managed to create Art, the first Canadian zombie film. He had saved 36,000 Canadian dollars from working at the local nickel mine and decided to write and produce a horror film to screen at his own family drive-in. Director Donald R. Passmore was hired, then fired after 4 days, and replaced by the film's cinematographer, Klaus Vetter. Once finished, Zazelenchuk found he could not afford the lab costs to have the film developed, but finally saved enough in drive-in proceeds to get it processed. It premiered at the 69 in 1974, August 21st, and went on to a long local run before it was bought by New York distributor Howard Mailer, who distributed Deep Red and Killer Snakes. It was given a token release in one theater and later shelved as a tax write-off.
Good evening. Happy Halo Funeral Home.
Dr. Zarup here. I think we've got some business for you.
Wonderful.
Do you think you'll be able to fit him in tonight?
Of course we can accommodate him.
Good.
Business is never good enough, you know. You know, Bill, he doesn't look quite right to me. His cheeks need filling out a little bit, I think. Have you got any cotton batting with you?
Some here in my pocket.
Yeah, let's see if we can fill it out a little bit. Well, there. Any bastard looked like an angel when I got through with him.
Lucifer, Lucifer, Barabbas, Barabbas, Bicentennis, Centennis, come, 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 roll, hero, Ecero, big two barrel,
Oh, let's get out of here, please. I want to go.
Okay, Robert, let me ask you something, okay? So why another zombie film so soon after Island of the Living Dead?
This is a completely different zombie film. Number one, the historical context. Canada's first zombie film, Canada's first gore film, and also the cultural relevance. You're not going to see in an American zombie film a trashy redhead being sprayed with Molson X while francophone acid rock blares in the background.
And we should clarify that Molson X is short for Molson Export, which is a local beer.
That's right.
Okay.
It barely qualifies as a beer in the modern sense, but back then it was probably more natural.
That's fine.
Okay. Well,
That's the job done.
Yeah.
It rhymes with sex.
Yeah.
What else can you want?
Yeah, and
a
trashy redhead or whatever. I think she was dyed. Who the hell knows? We should actually track her down and interview her, ask her about her bit of fame.
Well,
it should be an interesting interview if we can get a hold of her.
Yeah, we might have to do a follow-up episode on this film, considering I'm sure we're going to.
We're actually quite fascinated with this one. The background is unlike any other Canadian film at the time that I can recall, other than maybe Cannibal Girls. Cannibal Girls was by Ivan Reitman, of course, was self-financed, and this film was self-financed.
Continuing on the Cannibal Girls thread, there was something I wanted to mention earlier, that both these films incorporated a gimmick, which is basically the warning in the beginning of this film, right. Which is kind of like the warning or the introduction in the beginning of Bat Pussy, which we'll get into fairly shortly, has someone basically saying that there were test audiences done, and we've decided to put in this icon, which is of a man about to, spill his cookies or whatever, just before there's a scene of gore. Cannibal Girls had that very same gimmick.
The famous warning bell before the scene of gore. Here it's more, it's actually utilized as a vignette at the beginning of the film.
That's right.
With a guy sitting down in a suit, relaying, that before the scenes of horror, there will be a warning bell. Those that are squeamish will, run and hide or whatever. And,
close your eyes.
Exactly.
Close your eyes
and yes, both films incorporate the same gimmick.
But Cannibal Girls came later, right?
No, it actually came a year beforehand, or a year or two beforehand.
Oh,
yes.
Really? Okay, I thought it was the other way around.
Yeah, it's pretty safe to say that it played at the '69 drive-in, and it was also an inspiration.
Yeah, well, it didn't get a release. We found out, of course, that distributor in New York just bought it for a tax write-off. However, I did some research on the '69 drive-in, which wasn't easy. It was there's not very much information out there. But I scanned some old Sudbury newspapers, and I did find out that that drive-in had one screen and it had a 400 car capacity. So that's a lot of people.
Interesting.
Okay, so that's a lot of people, and because that guy had the perfect setup. He was the movie producer, and he had his own theater to show it.
Exactly.
Quite often, those bills for drive-ins were like double, triple, or quadruple features, right?
Right.
So he probably snuck it in as much as
Every
he could,
so often,
right?
yeah.
It's only an hour long or just under an hour, so it's, cheap and cheerful. Just throw it in there. And Sudbury, it was probably one of the only draws up there. There were only 2 or 3 other drive-ins.
We do know that he sold the rights to the American distributor for $5,000. So obviously he made, with 400 people, or 400 cars, I should say, he probably made quite a bit. And which he put in his pocket from the one screen.
Times that by 5, right? Because there's always 4 guys and then 1 dude in the trunk.
Right. So he must have actually gotten his investment back, or at least a large portion of his investment. Hence, that would explain why he sold it to the distributor for $5,000, because the film itself looks a hell of a lot more polished, even in 1973, $74. For $36,000, it looks pretty damn professional.
And actually, our dollar was pretty well almost at par with the American dollar back then. I did check the currency charts. We're just like a few cents under the American dollar.
Yeah.
So he did get a good bang for his buck.
Now, Conrad, you found out a couple of interesting tidbits about this man. It was said that he actually produced the film when he was a teenager, but we found out that that is not the case, is it?
Well, see, it's hard to really confirm this because there are no pictures of Lawrence. We'll call him Lawrence Z because Zazelenchuk, I'm going to say that a million times. Yeah, sure. So Mr. Z, okay?
Right.
There are no pictures. IMDb, there's nothing. I did, however, find a trade rag. It was called Inco Triangle, and I'm assuming it was a local Sudbury trade paper, where I found a picture of the Zazelenchuk family, which included a picture of Lawrence, aged 16.
And when was this again?
In 1963.
Okay. So obviously the consensus that he was a teenager when he produced his film is incorrect.
Well, it's hard to really confirm this because there are no other photos, and I'm only assuming that this is the exact same Lawrence Zazelenchuk that we're talking about.
Well, we do know that his father was named Nick, right?
And his father is named Nick in this photo.
If
it's a great coincidence.
If this is another Zazelenchuk, another patriarch which is named Nick.
Yeah.
So this is pretty. It's pretty safe to say that this is the photo for the Zazelenchuk.
Also, it's very suspect that by 18 he had already worked in a nickel mine,
right?
And it had accumulated $36,000 in wealth.
Right.
When did he start work? At 12?
And that
we weren't doing that in Canada. Not at that time. Okay.
Yes.
So it more than likely the evidence is pointing that this was the very same fellow, and he actually looks like a guy that would go on to direct a horror film.
Yeah.
I'm gonna post a picture on Facebook, okay? So everyone else can make their assumptions.
Plus the cast, a lot of the cast are actually high school friends of Lawrence. So those people are not teenagers. We know that they're not teenagers. So obviously he was more likely 27 years old when he produced this.
Which makes more sense because 1963 he was 16, 74,
right,
27, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
We do know that he sold a drive-in and bought a hotel in Florida, and unfortunately he expired around 36 years old. So any knowledge about the film shoot, unless the siblings were there on the set, is probably lost with them. We do know that the cast. Yeah, we do know that the cast is around, but we would have liked to have known from the beginning, from the producer himself, exactly how everything had transpired. I do believe that we can give him enough credit where he actually created something pretty unique. Whether he intended to make a full feature, he ran out of financing, who's to say? he's not around. It would explain why it's only 56 minutes long.
This film, despite being a low-budget effort as well, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to sheer horror, even though the film has a lot of flaws, it was a hell of a lot scarier than Island of the Living Dead.
Which
we reviewed last
which
episode.
you comically called Island of the Filipino Zombies.
Yes, of course.
Yes, I believe on his first maiden voyage here, Lawrence Zazelenchuk really hit on a formula. He created a film that utilizes nightmare logic years before it was utilized by Lucio Fulci with his films.
Okay, Rob, let's talk plot.
Well, plot is a tricky thing with this film. It's very elliptical in style, so therefore we don't know where the film begins or ends, or whether it's all a dream, part of it is a dream. We don't know. What we do know is that it starts off with the vignette with the buzzer, the man sitting down, right, telling us that we can look forward to a warning bell when certain scenes get a little bit too much for the audience. Yeah. So, dispensing with the gimmick, we start off in the Happy Halo funeral home. All we know is our resident drunk funeral undertaker is tending to a body, which we later find out is Richie.
But at the time, they say it's someone who's just been mauled by a bear.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, for some reason, instead of going further in the future, we go back. So we see two couples motoring around on a lake in a speedboat. We find out that they're trying to figure out how they're going to spend Friday the 13th. They just came back from a concert. They dock the boat, and they frolic, and there's a sex scene there with a trashy redhead, which we already talked about. And from then on, they state that they should do something special for Friday the 13th.
To mark the occasion.
They decide to go to the local graveyard. Now, we know, this being a horror film, that usually that does not end well.
Especially an abandoned cemetery.
Right. So, I don't know where where in Sudbury that was filmed, but I'd like to visit it sometime. I'm sure the crypt was actually a set that they cobbled together. They make it to the graveyard. They find out that the local crypt is open. The door is ajar. And I don't mean ajar, I mean the door is partially open.
Right.
So therefore, they decide wisely to go and investigate. This is where the film, I think, takes on a bit of Scooby-Doo. That's So, there's a mystery afoot. Let's go investigate. Even though we know that an open crypt usually means that someone has, someone has either entered or exited. And if it's the latter, you really don't want to go in there. They go anyways. But you can see the Scooby-Doo influence anyways.
Especially in the Satanus, Barabbas, whatever, the seance that they start to vocalize.
Well, at least they don't mention the Necronomicon, right?
Thank God.
Yeah.
In one film, they didn't mention the Necronomicon. Okay.
So, if this is ever remade, they'll probably mention. They'll stick it in there on the wall or something.
It'll be carved into one of the crypts or something.
Yeah, and there'll be a lingering shot of it, no doubt.
Yeah.
So they go in there and they decide to have a séance. Why they decide to have a séance, I'm not quite sure, but this is a good place to have a séance.
Well, this is also the time when the Ouija board was a big thing.
Right.
Okay? It came out around that time. A lot of people were into that whole bullshit of, let's bring up the dead or whatever.
Right. So they have their séance. And also at the time, I should mention, there was a satanic panic going on in the States. So they would obviously, put this into a film. Lawrence took a few influences here and there, and he decided to put, obviously, the satanic references in there. So after they perform the seance, nothing happens. They're all disappointed. Of course, Alan's girlfriend there, Lisa, decides that she's had enough. She wants to leave. Wisely so, because she didn't want to go in the first place.
Right.
So they try leaving. As soon as they leave, hands come up from the ground. The spell, or whatever that incantation was, worked. Zombies rise from the grave and attack everyone. Richie is hurt very badly. Julie is ravaged. In a scene directly out of a zombie film from the 80s, they eat her flesh, the whole 9 yards. Richie is bitten. They get away, they get to the car, and they speed off to the hospital, leaving Julie to be eaten by the living dead. So once they enter the hospital, they treat Richie. They find out that that nothing worked in saving Richie. They tried blood transfusions. They tried all sorts of medical techniques. Nothing took. They're at a loss as to why nothing worked.
They
He
can't
died.
even discern his blood type.
The girl, Lisa, is also hospitalized. Now,
From
that's...
shock.
Well, yes,
They
definitely.
give her a sedative. They put her in a room.
Right. And that's when things get really discombobulated here. There's a very well done nightmare sequence where she finds herself in a funeral home with Richie rising from the grave. Richie kisses her. She has blood on her lips. And then we cut to her waking up with Alan coming in, hugging her. Alan kisses her. Of course, the same thing happens. So we have a repetitive nightmare occurring here. It's the same sort of nightmare logic that Lucio Fulci is quite famous for. And here we are, and here we are seeing it in a 1974 Canadian zombie film.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
So she attacks him.
Mm-hmm.
He gets bitten, right?
Right.
And apparently a nurse walks in
Right.
shortly after and discovers the body, screams, and is attacked by Lisa, who by this time has a very Joker-esque, Heath Ledger Joker-esque makeup job.
Yeah.
Okay, and she
Predating Heath Ledger's Joker by many
by quite
years.
a bit.
Yeah.
And this scene is very reminiscent. This attack on the
Right.
nurse from another film.
Right. Night of the Living Dead.
Right.
Where a little girl attacks her mother. And it's actually photographed very similarly. And that's obviously his tribute to Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah, not ripoff. Tribute.
Yeah, of course. It's always a tribute.
Homage.
Yeah, it's always a tribute, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. From there on, we go back to the funeral home.
They go back to the funeral home where they show the undertaker basically bidding the mortician good night. All right, he's going to go do his paperwork, and he quickly gets into the booze. Okay, he gets right into the sauce right away, which to me looks like apple juice. So he pours himself a couple of tall glasses of Alan's apple juice there, and says screw it, throws abandon and caution to the wind, and starts drinking right out of the bottle. Next thing you know, he's passed out. All right. Right after that, a phone call, a mysterious phone call happens.
From downstairs.
Well, that's what we kind of piece together, because he mutters to himself that he has to go in and investigate what's going on down there.
Right.
Because of this phone call. I'm assuming it was a line or an extension from below. But, I mean, are we to assume that the zombies called him? Right? Just like
Well,
the
there's no voice on the other end.
There's
we
no
don't
voice
hear
on
anything.
the other end, but they know how to dial the phone, just like the zombies in Island of the Living Dead knew how to use a raft.
Well, it could have been
according to you,
his assistant calling, and then he was attacked by a zombie.
Yeah, but I thought he left.
Well, maybe he did leave, but not quite the same
In the same
way.
instance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but it was quite a bit later since he was passed out. I know there's a weird timeline happening here.
Very much so.
This
Throughout
could
the
also
entire
be a
film,
dream,
actually.
right? Yeah. There's a lot of inconsistencies in terms of the continuity.
Well, when we're dealing with nightmare logic, everything in terms of logical progression gets thrown to the wind.
Yeah.
We don't
Anything
know
goes.
quite. Well, exactly. And here everything does go because we don't have any sense of time. The entire film is structured like a discombobulated nightmare where you would dream it in one night and forget it the next day. It feels like that, anyways, to me.
Okay, so then right after that, he goes downstairs to investigate. This is probably some of the best footage in the film in terms of the use of shadows and lighting and a couple of camera angles where they're looking right up at him as he's coming down the staircase.
Some incredible shots here.
Yeah,
and also a lot of tension is utilized. Many films don't even know how to utilize the tension required
to build the suspense.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's apparent in the soundtrack, in the lighting, and just the way the scene plays out in terms of the timing of it. Anyway, he goes downstairs and starts looking into the caskets. Now, he's stumbling around like he's half in the bag. Starts looking into the coffins, and they're empty. And he mutters to himself, "Where did everybody go?" And then he does come across someone in the mortuary.
Right. His back is turned to him.
Yeah,
he doesn't know exactly what he's doing, but we do know that there's weird sounds coming from that direction.
From that direction. Yeah. They turn around and it's a zombie eating someone's face off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then he gets attacked. His eyeballs somehow get plucked.
Right.
And they start
in a really
chopping
gory
down.
scene that's very reminiscent of classic Italian zombie films from the 80s.
His eyeballs get plucked. He dies. Now here's where the film, to me, shits the bed. Okay. Because right after that, the next scene is that they're sending him to the insane asylum.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's no scene where he wakes up and it was a dream. There's no conclusion. There's no explanation of perhaps why he's in the mental.
Well, he
institute.
does say that he is not insane.
Yes, he says that. Of course, why would they put him in a mental hospital if they didn't think he was insane?
Right.
But to me, that part of it doesn't really make any sense.
Well, when you put it into the proper context, apparently the zombies in the scene with them coming up out of the ground, was that a dream? Did that girl that was in the hospital there, Lisa, did she dream the whole damn film up until that point? We don't know.
None of this is resolved.
Yeah. None of this is clearly resolved. However, when you incorporate the fact that, at the beginning there was this body that was apparently attacked by a bear, which wasn't a bear, and they can't identify what attacked it, we can piece together that perhaps part of this is not a nightmare. Part of it is not a dream. That it happened in a very jumbled series of events, or it's presented to us that way in order for us to piece together a mystery. Now, the problem with this is that last piece. It is unresolved. We don't know exactly where it fits. Was the Undertaker insane prior to the two couples running across the crypt there? It doesn't quite fit into the succession of events in the rest of the film. It may be out of context, but we can place everything where it should go. There are clues in every sequence, okay? where we can figure out exactly how it fits into the rest of the film. That last scene, however, we're at a loss as to know where it goes.
Yeah. No,
it's almost like they ran out of budget, and there was an extra scene that should have been shot, or an extra sequence, and that part they just never shot it, and they just put it together, and hey, maybe this is enough, and maybe there's enough going on here that people won't notice or care.
Yeah, maybe the lab screwed up the print.
That's actually a good point. The lab may have lost some footage.
Or might not have been shot properly. They probably
Correct.
thought they had the thing in the can and weren't able to do pickups.
Yeah. So, Mr. Del Bianco, how did you feel about the film?
Well, to be honest, I actually enjoyed it. Despite the fact that it was confusing, I have to also place this in context with films of that era.
Right.
1974. You watch a lot of films from that era, at least low-budget films. You'll find that this was very much in the style and in the mood of what was being produced back then. Now, for someone who really has no credentials and basically wanted to make his own horror film, I thought it was a pretty good effort, especially a first effort, if we're going to call it that.
Right.
Because we don't know what happened with his other films that he did.
Well, it's actually nightmarish and scary in certain scenes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think that Mr. Z would have seen a Jean Rollin film back then, but you never know. He ran a drive-in, so he could have seen that. I've even seen, during the nightmare sequence with Richie coming back, that's very reminiscent of some of the dreamlike scenes in a Jean Rollin film. Jean Rollin, of course, is the French horror director that passed on a couple of years back. There are little clippets in this that would be at home in a European horror film of that particular era. I mean, for this to be in a Canadian horror film from goddamn Sudbury, wow, that's quite a revelation.
Well,
it's a shame that Mr. Z did not go on to produce another film. It would have been very interesting to see.
To see the progression, to see where he went next, knowing what he, at least from what he learned from this film, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, I thought this film was a lot creepier and suspenseful, and
well, we can agree that it's better than Island of the Living Dead.
as far as
we prefer it,
we
prefer
film,
it. Well, this is a serious film. Island of the Living Dead is a jokey, campy film.
Okay, right,
So in the proper context, this film, I would say it's a must-see if you're into zombie films, and a must-see especially if you're into a lot of the Italian, European-style horror films which utilize the same techniques in nightmare logic that this film did back then. I'm sure when Mr. Z showed this to distributors, he probably confused more than a few of them. I can't see them looking at this, oh yeah, we can sell this. They most likely told him, you have an incomplete film here, go off and shoot some other scenes, because this does not make sense. The truth is, in the context of a nightmare, damn right it makes sense. Except for that maybe last scene there. You can chalk that up. Well, you can chalk that up to interpretation. It's all subjective anyways.
Maybe your nightmares, Rob.
Okay, my nightmares, all right.
The walls around are bare, echoing to our laughter, as though the dead were there.
To die, to be really dead, that must be glorious. There are far worse things facing men than death.
White on white, translucent black case, back on the rack.
Another death.
Bela Lugosi's
music they make.
Radio Psychotropia is having its first ever contest. To be entered, all you have to do is as follows. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and your name will be entered in a draw, which we'll have on our next episode. Those who've already liked the page and on Twitter have already been entered. We have 2 prize packs. The first consists of the British horror film Mum and Dad, the new CD from the indie goth rock sensation Diauger, and the second pack consists of the Diauger CD and a CD from a band called Sour, which is alternative rock. So, next episode, we're going to have the draw. Join us.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Dragon Art Theater. Before the program starts this evening, however, a word of warning and caution. The films you are about to see are adult motion pictures, rated X. If you do not understand what an adult motion picture is, or if you would be offended by frank and intimate scenes, then we urge you not to view these motion pictures. If these kind of scenes and films would offend you, then we urge you not to purchase a ticket to the Dragon Art Theater. However, if you, like many of our friends and customers, enjoy the very finest in adult motion pictures, you will find them shown weekly at the Dragon Art Theater.
Hello, I'm Robert Black, and with me is Conrad Del Bianco.
Hey.
Okay, we're here to review the much despised and much anticipated Bat Pussy. Every once in a while, a film enters the arena of hipster cinema enthusiasts and is lauded for its brash and ostentatious wallowing in its own inanity. Then there are films which redefine inanity. Then there are films like Bat Pussy, trying to justify the existence of a piece of vintage fuck film celluloid like this is to acquiesce to the existence of demonic supernatural entities, playing a joke on an endless loop to the torture of all of humanity. On that loop would be Bat Pussy. Now we enter hell. Mr. Del Bianco.
Bat Pussy, alias Dora Dildo, sits around her secret hideout waiting for her super senses to tell her when a crime is about to be committed. Her twat begins to twitch, and she jumps up. Dirty motherfuckers. Fucking in my Gotham City, she mutters in a thick southern white trash accent. Clad in jean tights, a ratty cape, a t-shirt with the famous Batman insignia on it, and gym shorts, the masked Avenger hits the open road on her hoppity hop, which is a gigantic bouncing ball, which she clumsily rides. After stopping to take a leak, she spies and makes short work of a mugger and journeys to Buddy and Samantha's house, where she accuses them of making pornography. Buddy retorts that it's not true, and they scuffle. Buddy wins, and Bat Pussy loses her clothes, and a badly staged threesome transpires.
On screen, a man dressed in a suit sits down for the camera, and he tells us we're about to view pornography. He also mentions the theater which this is taking place. And
Dragon Art.
Okay, the Dragon Art Theater. This man warns us of what we are about to see.
Not adequately, I'll give him that much.
Yeah, that's for sure. So then we come upon Buddy and Sam. Buddy is having problems in the bedroom. The entire film takes place in their bedroom, or perhaps it's a set made to look like someone's bedroom. We're assaulted with repeated scenes of Buddy trying to get it up for Sam. Sam being his wife, which according to Buddy is a street walker. And Buddy is apparently some sort of businessman We know this because he references his secretary. He's trying to get it up, and he can't get it up for his wife. Looking at his wife, well,
There's no mystery.
Yeah.
There is no mystery, man.
Oh, God.
A whole B-mop hairdo kept up with jizz.
Well, you know what? Looking at Buddy, I don't think she's off to a really good start with him either.
No, he's no prize.
Yeah. This goes on for a while. And, they try and suck on their private parts until Buddy gets an erection. It doesn't happen. Then we go to the hideout of one Dora Dildo, which is played by a 40-year-old white trash, obviously trailer park dwelling. I'm not going to call her an actress or an adult actress, film actress. They probably recruited her from the nearest trailer park to play Dora Dildo, alias Bat Pussy. She complains about her twat itching, and some crime is about to be committed, and something is happening in her holy Gotham City. Or would that be Holy Hole Gotham City? I don't fucking know. Something
cares?
to that, yeah. We know it's Bat Pussy's hideout because the sign Bat Pussy Hideout is above her bed, or lounging above her couch. Ratty, really bad looking couch.
I would love to take an ultraviolet light to that couch.
At this point, we don't know exactly what the hell we're watching.
And it ain't porn.
It ain't a film either. So she decides that, crime is afoot and that she has to stop it. So she dresses up in her Bat Pussy clothing, and she goes out on her hippity hop, which is a giant bouncing ball. She bounces around, and it's to this soundtrack, which I have to admit I really fucking like. It's sort of a cross between the theme of the 1960s Batman with an interesting guitar riff. She bounces around, and we're treated to about, 5 minutes of bouncing around outdoors. She comes across a mugger, beats the crap out of him, stops by a tree, takes a leak behind the tree, gets back on the hippity hop, goes by a road where obviously motorists are gawking at her, and eventually heads off to Buddy and Sam's house, and then proceeds to attack Bat Pussy. I don't know how Buddy and Sam... We need more wine.
More wine! I need more wine! Be good.
Okay.
Better than the film.
Okay. So she's headed toward their house. So when Dora, aka Bat Pussy, reaches Buddy and Sam, they're of course naked on the bed, and of course Buddy is failing miserably to pleasure Sam. She accuses them of making pornography. How this is possible without a camera
Or
present,
an erection.
or what passes for a penis on fucking Buddy.
More like a wet sock.
Yeah. How they can do this, I'm not quite sure, but we'll leave that to Bat Pussy's imagination. So she accuses Buddy of making pornography. He, of course, denies it. He attacks Bat Pussy. Being a crime fighter, you would think that she would make short work of Buddy. It doesn't happen. Buddy actually subdues her, takes her uniform off, and a threesome transpires. Why anyone would want to get into a threesome with Buddy and Sam, even someone like Dora, I'm not quite sure, but perhaps the director just told them, yeah, threesome, whatever. The threesome is no better than the twosome. Of course, Buddy still doesn't get it up, and we go on through an endless scene of Buddy trying to get it up and sucking on whatever organs Buddy can, and whatever organs Sam and Dora can. That's it. The film feels like one very large outtake. This film was discovered by Something Weird's Mike Vraney. I don't know where he discovered it, a warehouse, a film lab. He should have, after seeing it, taken it out back and burned it. But, of course, he released it. Bastard that he is. God rest his soul, or whatever deity you believe in. I can see the appeal to Bat Pussy. It's reminiscent of a certain era where anyone can go out there with a camera, film something, and put it on at least one theater screen. And that's anything. No matter how horrible or how incompetent or how technically inept, you could find some theater somewhere in the middle of nowhere that would show it. I can see how people can like Bat Pussy as a representation of that. Beyond that, I have no idea why the cult of Bat Pussy goes on and on about Bat Pussy. The music, I have to admit, I fucking like it. It's cheesy, it's kitschy, and quite frankly, I would play it over and over again until I got tired of it. The film itself is beyond wretched. I don't even know exactly what the hell it is. If it's a film, if it's... what the hell is this? An outtake? This is, as far as I'm concerned, not even a complete film. It's just one long, monotonous thing. The dialogue, I have to admit, is actually very funny for all the wrong reasons. You don't even need a visual. Just have a loop of the best dialogue in this film. Obviously, it was ad-libbed on the set. The film itself has scenes which has the audio dropping out. Instead of editing the direction that's being told to the actors.
You can clearly hear it.
From time to time you can hear it. Other times the audio drops out. However, when that happens, you can tell that the actors are looking off stage for direction. This essentially gives the impression that this was perhaps an incomplete film that was shelved at one point. Wisely shelved. Recently, a couple of years back, a cult of people decided that they will champion this film and that they will champion it to the point where it receives a 4-star release with all the extras. At present, that hasn't happened. It's on a disc. I believe it's a DVD-R, actually, with Something Weird video. It's double billed with some equally awful film. Now...
Spider Twat?
You know what? That would actually be an inspired title.
Okay.
But, maybe we'll go out and film it this summer. Who the fuck knows?
Her web is gooey. Sorry.
Well, that's not very funny, but
no,
okay. But
okay.
It's a good attempt.
Thanks.
So, Mr. Del Bianco, I know that once I showed you my copy of Bat Pussy, you had an adverse reaction. I actually posted about it on Facebook and various social media. Your reaction was pretty negative. You were actually going to beat the living fuck out of me. You hated the film. You did not understand as to why I would want to talk about this, let alone give it to you so you could be tortured for however long the film lasts, 50 minutes, whatever.
It lasts a lifetime, actually. An entire lifetime. That's how long it is.
Oh, fuck. So what are your thoughts about this film, dare I ask?
Well, okay. To me, this film is a monumental waste of time, okay? How much so can only be fully understood at the end of your life, all right? Okay? Your last few moments on Earth, only then will you know if there was something unresolved, something that you wanted to say to someone dear to you. You know, if you didn't have time to say it before you died, only at that moment will you realize what a waste of time watching Bat Pussy was. Okay? What's worse than this film? You ask?
Not really, but go ahead. Yeah.
The fact that it has a cult following. Okay. That's what's worse. There are better films and better films for you out there, okay?
Well, hold on a second. Film is subjective. We should put that out there right now.
That's true.
How subjective film can be, that's up for interpretation. And when you're dealing with something like Bat Pussy, that interpretation takes on a new dimension.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, well, like I was saying, there are better films, according to me, but some of them might actually be amateur porn, okay? I bet you there's an amateur porn masterpiece out there just waiting to be discovered, okay? A masterpiece, I'm saying, right? Just ask the next guy who gives you a really firm handshake. I bet you he knows what the next great amateur porn film is. I didn't like this film, but, you know, having said all that...
But you had an adverse reaction. You were actually almost violent when you saw this film.
We started this podcast because we wanted to review rare and unusual films, so I guess this does fall into that category. However, you know, I didn't really find it to be a complete film, and I didn't think it really merited a review, since it was short and tasteless and failed even as a porno film. Having said all that, you know, yeah, the dialogue is pretty funny, okay? I'll give it that much.
Yeah.
But, you know...
So it has... hold on a second. It has redeeming values.
It does have some redeeming values if you want to talk about just the dialogue.
Right.
If you go on YouTube, okay, you can find just the audio clip of this, which is set to another film. There's a black and white film playing, and you can just listen to the audio portion of this film.
Right.
Which is a lot better. It's a lot better to listen to them talk about her wash tub pussy, or whatever he refers to it as. And some of the dialogue is kind of funny. But, you know, you could probably walk onto any trailer park and listen to any conversation, eavesdrop in on any conversation, and find that equally as entertaining. Okay? Especially somewhere around midnight.
Well, you know, thanks to Trailer Park Boys, that TV series... White Trash America, well, that I know that's a Canadian series, but the point is, it's very popular in the States. It's White Trash America does have its appeal. We have here some really works of art in terms of that strata of society. The film, as far as I can tell, well, if you count the mugger and the muggee, the cast is all of 5 people. And, you know, they probably recruited people off the street for this film. But it's a fascinating watch, because you don't know what the hell you're in for. When you show this film to someone, people like you will get angry and will start screaming obscenities like you did at me. But there are other people out there, people that... grew up with Mystery Science Theater, that love really bad cinema because it reminds them of how good the best cinema out there is. From that perspective, I can understand why some people may champion this. It's DIY filmmaking at its most underground, its most primitive, its most basic.
Well, I was going to say, I know that some people herald this film as the return or the beginning of amateur porn, okay? But to my way of thinking, the inception of amateur porn came with the invention of the camera.
Right.
As soon as there was a camera, people started shooting things. Some things were, some of them were landscapes.
One of the first films was called The Kiss. So obviously sex played a huge part of cinema from the very beginning.
Okay. And then, so in that case, amateur porn came first. Then professional porn caught on once people realized there's a market for this. I can actually film this and sell it to some other guy to jerk off to. All right. Then there was a market available. But even to say that it heralded the return of amateur porn or the start of a new style of porn, I don't really agree with that, because this was shot on film. So they still had to build sets and they still had to process film. Amateur porn really came when the video camera was invented, right? Because now it became a low budget way of filming these events and basically doing them in editing them in your basement. Throwing in your own soundtrack, and then carrying on, finding hookers or strippers or whoever else at a bus stop.
A lot of 70s porn films did exactly that.
Yeah, exactly, right? Even Janie, right? The roughy that we reviewed.
Yeah.
So I don't really buy that whole thing that it was the flagship for that.
You know what? This is anti-porn, if anything.
Yeah.
Buddy tries to penetrate bat pussy in the latter half there. Nothing happens. Absolutely nothing happens. To call it a fuck film when there's no fucking. You can't, the purpose of this film obviously was to create some sort of parody of the maybe Batgirl or something like that. In fact, at one point, Buddy calls Batpussy Batwoman repeatedly and is corrected by his wife. So obviously the film was intended to be called Batwoman, not Batpussy.
Or he was just too drunk to remember his few lines.
His line. Yeah.
Okay. So it's a big cult film, and I'm into quite a few cult films myself. But generally speaking, the cult films I love are actually great films.
This type of film you've never really encountered before, have you?
Not really.
You're lucky.
Yeah, I am. Maybe I've
in that
lived
sense,
a sheltered
in that
life.
Sense.
Yeah.
Well,
I just, I started to watch it and I got mad because I thought, what am I really reviewing this film for? It's got a lot of bad production value. You mentioned before that the sound drops in and out.
It has to have some sort of appeal. Obviously, the dialogue is really funny. It's comedic. People love the soundtrack. Other than that, it's an outtake directed by a madman on probably ludes or coke or crack or whatever drug of choice he had at that time. It's fascinating to watch because it's one of those films where you're watching it and trying to figure out the mentality behind the film itself. And I think with a lot of these underground films, and this truly is an underground film, there are no credits at all.
Yeah. And no one stepped forth, since it's become a cult favorite, to claim any kind of directorial
credit, right?
Credit.
Yeah. I guess people have tried to track down the people involved in this, just so they could interview them or perhaps stick them on the cover of some obscure magazine, but
which is probably why they're still in hiding.
That's very true. Eventually they're going to track you down no matter what, people. Your days are numbered. You will be heralded as one of the stars of Bat Pussy eventually.
Okay.
So you might as well give it up.
Yeah. So when we reviewed Island of the Living Dead, I thought it was so bad that it was funny. Right? In the case of Bat Pussy, to me it's so bad that it's annoying. And the audio sounds
What's annoying about it? It's because of the technical quality or because it goes nowhere at all?
It's technical and the nowhere plot as well.
Right.
The sound was so bad in the beginning that I was starting to play solitaire while
it's less of a film than an experience.
Yeah.
Once you've seen it, you can't forget it, whether you want to or not. I can ascertain the appeal from films like this. Whether I approve of that perspective on cinema like this is another matter. Whatever floats your boat out there, but a film like this, you see it once. I don't know if I would write endless articles like some people have. I mean, I found an article that goes on for 1,100 words on Bat Pussy. You could probably do something more constructive with your life than, a paper on Bat Pussy.
Well, yeah, I mean, sorry, getting back to the sound, it sounded like they had a set built in a warehouse,
right?
And they recorded the sound live in the warehouse. Mm-hmm. That's why you have that really high ceiling echo happening, where they could have just gone to a motel and shot those scenes in there in a closed environment. Well, it would only cost them the expense of the rental of the room, right?
Right.
And the sound, I guarantee you, would be a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
At least you wouldn't get that high tin roof sound.
Right.
Okay, that expansive warehouse sound, which is very hard to control. If you've been on any big movie sets, there's a reason why they build sound stages and don't just film movies in open warehouses.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. But is the sound really? Obviously, they put together whatever dollars they could to shoot a porno. It went really, really badly. Do you really think that they gave a fuck about their location if they couldn't even get someone to perform in front of the camera?
Well, no, but maybe perhaps they didn't know that Buddy was going to be camera shy, as he was.
Usually you figure that out before you put celluloid into the camera.
That's true. It is an expensive proposition, right? To actually process film and everything else. Mm-hmm. They came at it with the angle of doing a parody of Batman or Batwoman, which was their gimmick or angle. And I guess it's kind of funny to watch something from that era that's so bad and so, that fails on every level. But to me, it was just the audio is more interesting than the visual. If you actually just listen to the audio and let your imagination fill in
you could
the
actually
rest.
turn the audio into a good comedy album.
Yeah,
with some creative editing.
Yeah, that's true.
It's pretty wild. And also some of the dialogue. Again, I would really like to know if this was improvised on set or if there was an actual script somewhere written on a napkin where they actually had to learn their lines here. Dora Dildo especially, I wish that they would find that actress, if she's still around, and interview her. That would be an interesting interview. I have to... I'm not going to put out a bounty for that one, but, whoever wants to track her down, you're going to get a lot of credit for interviewing Dora Dildo.
Yeah. The best part of this film, I think, is actually, or the best element attached to this film is the poster.
That actually was created after the fact, I believe. Or maybe it was created by Something Weird Video themselves. I'm not sure. I don't know if that's an original art piece.
Yeah, it's hard to say because it actually is fairly well done. The caricatures of the characters look pretty interesting, and I don't know. This film, to me, the reason why I got mad was I thought we were going to review.
Well, you were off on. First of all, you got a high with our first episode. You got Manborg there. Yeah. You were all excited with Manborg.
And Janie, even though it was a roughie that failed to really live up to a roughie category, it was still interesting to watch.
Right.
And had a story and kept my attention for the most part. When we got to Bat Pussy, I just thought, wow, I mean, what are we reviewing this for? Is it because of the film or because of the controversy surrounding this film.
Well, I don't know if there's any controversy. There's,
Well,
I guess what's
because
controversial
there's-
about it is the fact that there are people trying to champion it to get it an official release. There has to be someone that will actually admit they own the rights to it before anything can be officially released. Before that, I mean, don't expect something weird to pony up major dollars to do this when they can't even find the rights holder, because he can come out of the woodwork and sue their ass. So let's see. Bat Pussy, to recap. Hey, film is subjective. If it, there's some appeal there. The dialogue, the soundtrack, I liked myself personally. The film is one giant outtake. For it to have any cultural relevance, well, again, subjective. As a relic outtake from the 70s, okay, you may get your jollies, but an official DVD or Blu-ray release, people, I don't know, with so many films out there begging for any sort of release, I would say that...
this one's
and
pretty
you
low
guys,
on the list.
Well, yeah, to me, it's pretty low on the list. You can call me elitist all you'd like, or as someone called me on Twitter, an elitist asshole. But I think I have a reason for disliking the fact that people are championing this film to the point where they want an official release. There are way too many films out there that deserve it more than Bat Pussy. I'm sorry. But that's how I feel.
There are even way too many films out there that need to be restored to their original grandeur.
Right.
Okay.
Yes,
that are being lost, you know.
Or have already been lost.
To celluloid
oblivion.
Oblivion,
right?
you know, to...
You know what? I have to give it to Mike Vraney. He knows his audience. He obviously knew that there was an audience out there for Bat Pussy, and he was correct. For it to be touted in articles and on message boards, on social media, he knew that people would find something about this. I hesitate to call it a film, it's an outtake. To call it, I don't know. I don't really know. I shouldn't speak ill of the dead. Mike Vraney is a treasure, was a treasure, is a treasure. I love so many films in Something Weird's collection. But wow, this film, it's really tough to justify people going out there and purchasing that DVD-R from Something Weird, other than to support a great company. But, support them by buying another film.
Yeah, I agreed.
Okay, anything more to add to this other than you fucking hate my guts because of it? No? Okay, you ready for a good film next month?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, that would shock
Okay, well, I don't know if it'll be a good film, but it'll certainly be memorable. And I hope someone out there got something out of this review. If not, well, hey, we tried our best with Bat Pussy. We didn't discount it as trash. We could have been elitist and stated, yeah, we're not even going to bother reviewing this. We're going to fucking review how Conrad's cat is lounging there on the windowsill and what she's doing. And, we could have done that.
Yeah.
Or we could have reviewed something else.
To talk of other pussies.
Exactly. So, that's Bat Pussy. To its fans, I'm sorry.
Yeah. This is Radio Psychotropia signing off. Conrad Del Bianco and...
Robert Black.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Music by Aloha Annie and DJ Idiot. Incidentals by Kevin MacLeod, Planet Blue. Theme by Robert Black.